Y'all were cooking. Y'all were.
Sorry.
Hi guys, Kevin Santillan back here with the Intern. So we're here interviewing Buyepongo, otherwise known as.
Meshley and
Dominique.
And so you guys been with us for a minute, especially with Levitt LA and your relationship. How has this relationship throughout the years changed and improved?
you know what? It just the whole show, the whole production has just gotten better and better. You know, when we came out before, you know what I mean. It's always the energy's been, the community's been great, the energy's been great. But as far as the staff, the production, everything, yeah, man, it's been leveling up. And so, you know, Levitt is definitely one of the top places to play at that's accessible to the community. You know what I mean? That's important for us. And so, yeah, this is our 6th time playing the Levitt, and it's an honor every time we get invited, and we hope to keep getting invited, man. Yeah.
Do you want to say?
No, I agree. I mean, I've been here probably like 4 times, different projects. This is probably like my 5th time now, but I've been in different bands, representing different bands in LA at the Levitt, and it's just always been getting better. Always been getting better. Just, you know, always community. We always got the community, for sure.
And so the last time I ran into you, obviously off camera, was at the Soho House, and at that time I only met 3 of the members.
Yeah.
Now you guys are here at the Levitt, Foundation with us, Levitt LA.
Yeah.
And how many of you guys are here today?
Got the full crew, 27 of us, not just 10. It's 6 of us. It's a full crew, we got the whole band. The time that we met at the Soho, it was a broken down 3-piece. But today you get the full band, Buyepongo, and so yeah, man, it's gonna be a great show. Full force. And we're here with the amazing Bamba. And so it's just the fact that we're here at the Levitt, you know, to the top, acts right now. Pretty good, man. Pretty special.
And for the viewers at home that don't know about you guys, how would you guys describe Buyepongo?
Shit. Oh, what? Excuse me about that. Well, I mean, it's a mix, definitely, of all kinds of Latin African rhythms, and it's just fire.
Yeah, fire, man.
It's a fire vibe.
It's a mix, like you said, of Afro-Latin, Afro-Indigenous rhythms, but also mixed with the flavors of LA, man. You know what I'm saying? There's brothers from Boyle Heights. I'm out from the Compton area. We got people from Norwalk, the IE, and growing up in this beautiful community of LA and the melting pot of cultures that exist here, we're able to get a taste of everything. So Buyepongo represents that, you know what I mean? It represents our roots, where our families and our peoples come from, but at the same time represents everybody here in LA, man. So that's the sound. That's what Buyepongo does, and people know. Hashtag Buyepongo, hashtag Buyangu. Y'all know what we do every time.
Buyangu.
And we bring it hard. We bring it with passion, and this is us every day, man.
All right. And with you guys performing here with us at the Levitt, obviously today, what do you guys have planned for the future?
Right now, take over the world, man. You know what I'm saying? Take our music to all the dance floors that want to bring us, and it's always been our mission: bring quality music, quality sound, quality show, and quality experience to the world, man. And that's always been, and we've been to different parts of the world, but there's a lot of places we still haven't gone to, and that's just our mission, man. Just to be able to continue to do this, representing our community of LA, representing our people with the best music and the best sound that there is, man.
And before we finish the interview, is there anything you guys want to tell the crowd, where you guys, where they can follow you, anything else like that?
Yeah, man, make sure to check us out at everything on social medias at Buyepongo, Buyepongo. You can also check us out at buyepongomusic.com. Coming to a city near you. Hit us up. Let's hang out. Let's do our thing. Y'all already know. Buyepongo.
All right, and that was Buyepongo, guys. We're back interviewing Bamba, otherwise known as
Luz Elena.
So thank you so much for being willing to do this interview with me. So if I could go straight into it, as we just witnessed, you guys experience, or your sound and everything, it's a culmination of multiple genres and multiple things. How do you get in the mental state to create the music that you guys make?
Just life experiences. I never think of genre when I write. No, I just, whatever comes out. And it's obviously a collage of, my experiences, where I come from. Just is what it is. Does that make sense? Just, yeah. It's like if someone's to ask you, hey, how did you make that decision to get from point A to point B? You're like, well, you know, you just kind of use whatever you got, your tools that you have, and you just execute whatever from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think music's the same. You know?
And if you don't mind me asking, you, what does music mean to you?
Life, freedom, expression, being free, like liberating, emoting, family, culture, roots, you know?
And with you being here with us at Levitt LA, which is, you know, a massive Latin community, how do you feel you performing here is gonna connect with them spiritually or even emotionally?
Well, I don't expect for people to connect, you know, it's just, I just show up and I'm present. And I will say that I'm very grateful to be also in proximity with, you know, family feels like home for me, even though I didn't grow up in LA, but it feels familiar. So I only hope, you know, that it's just one huge embrace and we all just connect on that spiritual level. But I don't expect that, you know, but if it happens, it happens. That's awesome.
And by any chance, have you ever performed with us with the Levitt organization?
No, I have not.
What are your minds going into today?
I don't know yet. I guess ask me that.
Or I should ask you after?
Afterwards,
Okay.
What do you think? But I was just present with, and all these people are really good people, you know, so I feel in good hands.
All right, well, so far, you know, this is my first year here with Levitt and themselves.
How do you feel?
Oh, that's a really good question.
I know, right?
Honestly, it's very enjoyable because, I didn't think all this would be able to be possible.
Yeah, totally.
And so you just go with the flow, and everything's been pretty enjoyable.
Yeah. Is it there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And if you don't mind me asking, at least how I became familiar with your music was with your Tiny Desk series that you were on. If you don't mind me elaborating on that, how has performing on Tiny Desk increased your following of fandom and also...
I don't pay attention to that stuff. I don't know what's going on with Tiny. No, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just the collage of everything, of just me just still doing what I'm doing, you know, and being who I am. So if it's through platforms like Tiny Desk or KXP or, you know, the Levitt Pavilion, you know, it's just all part of the package. So I don't pay attention to how many followers, you know, no. But, you know.
How was your overall experience with the Tiny Desk series?
Everyone's super sweet there. We always have a good time there. It's always Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
It's like a privilege to be part of that. So, yeah, it's always good. And then we get to be in the East Coast, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. And so, at least me personally, because I don't know, where are you from? Where do you call home?
Oh my gosh. Well, I lived in Portland, Oregon for a long time. I was there for 16, 17 years, I don't even know. But I was born in California in San Francisco. And then my parents, you know, moved to Southern Oregon. And then I relocated to Mexico, but I've been there for 2.5 years in Mexico City. 2 years and some change. And, you know, it's kind of hard to say where I'm from now, but I think Portland, because I spent such a long time there, my heart is definitely still there, but now I'm creating a new chapter, which is being in Mexico, so to earn that respect, to say, you know, todavía me falta, you know, even though people are like, no, tú eres ya.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Well, that's really cool. And, you know, what advice would you give to other inspiring artists that are making it out slowly but surely?
Be authentic. Stay true. I mean, that's to the point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is there anything else you would like to share with the viewers of what you're doing or what we can hope to expect from you, La Bamba?
I think that I will just be vulnerable here. It is very vulnerable, and there is an insecurity always that I've carried of my interpretation of Latinidad and who I am as a person. And I was just talking to the homies of Buyepongo. It's we're just sampling so much of how we adapt to environment and how we carry our culture and keep, you know, that alive. You know, it's something that's so visceral. And but there's still like that insecurity of being like, oh, like how are people taking in like my interpretation of this. And that's why like staying authentic is so important, even if you feel like, you know, all that's, you know, that chatter, the unnecessary, like that chatter. But I don't know, I think that I just wanted to share that, you know, because it's very vulnerable to like we're all so different. Like all Latinos are different, all Mexican Americans are different. We all come from different backgrounds. I know that me living in Mexico has helped me to get my narratives right and shape them right of like my family struggle, where they come from, you know, like it's been a huge learning curve. And I just encourage actually a lot of, you know, like my family, other like Mexicano Americanos to go on that journey if they can, to like do a really deep exploration of, you know, where we come from. You know, getting those narratives right is like tricky.
Yeah.
And like, but it's definitely worth it.
Wow, I feel like I want to go to Mexico now too. Yeah.
Whatever, you know, anyway,
No, discover the roots though.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's been a humbling experience being there.
And if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been on this journey to discovering all this?
For a long time. I mean, I think as like, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody else, but since I was conceived and, you know, I learned that I was being perceived and like, you know, like coming from the communities, the immigrant family communities I come from, like, you know, there's a really deep learning in that and unlearning. So like I'm 42, so there's a lot of unlearning that I had to do of like what I thought, you know, what it was like to be Mexican American or whatever, and then like a reintroduction of this new learning. Does that make sense?
No, yeah,
like
of course.
So and just not be afraid of it, and not, for me, like personally, to let go of like the shame of like what I used to think, you know, and be like, and give myself so much love for that. Be like, well, I knew this because of this, and I should like love on that, not be like, oh, you know.
No, yeah.
You know, and then like let that go, and then just go on another, you know. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just so afraid of those nuances of just being honest and being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we don't know everything, so that's where I'm at, you know.
Are you a first gen as well?
Yes, I am first generation.
And so you were in San Francisco during that time?
I wasn't raised in San Francisco. So
Okay.
My parents migrated in the 70s. My dad, he crossed un coyote, like through San Isidro. My mom's family, they're a huge family, like 12 of them, 11 of them at a certain point because my mom died.
Big families.
Yeah, big family.
Yeah.
And then they got all, they got their papers like slowly. It was like, you know, because there was a huge family.
Yeah.
And then my grandpa was working in the fields in the valley. So all the Highway 99, like Ceres, Winton, Atwater, Merced, Turlock, Stockton, Los Baños, that whole stretch, like that's where they all migrated and they worked in the campos, and like my mom's side of the family lived in the camps outside of Ceres and worked out of them to a certain point. They worked themselves up to like, you know, get more stability. And so I'm a first generation from that, but I'm like Tia vibes now. You know what I mean? Like,
I get
for
it.
real, I'm now like the Tia of what I see my Tias are. Does that make sense?
Do you have like nephews and nieces?
I do, so many.
Does it like make you go, like, you're like, whoa?
Yeah, definitely. Well, they're like 26 now, and I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How old are you?
I'm 21.
Yeah, well. It's like my nephew.
Yeah. I would love to have you as a Tia,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Yeah.
Well,
And a lot of them are like now coming to see my shows-ish, you know?
How does that feel for you? Like seeing...
Well, a lot of my family, it took a long time for them, and still, dude,
to accept?
to be like, you play music, you're touring, still to this day.
Because in their eyes, it's not a real career.
No, they're like, ¿y por qué te pagan y andas arriba abajo ahí nomás, you know, y no te van a dar como beneficios del gobierno, you know, because that's just like, that's like, you know, it's
the mentality.
Yeah, well, but it makes sense. There's a really strong, relevant story behind like their narratives of like struggle, and like you gotta have this, you gotta that, because I imagine when they came over, that's what they need. We got to do this. We need to get a job with this, so they want that for their kids. But little do they know, and like that's our privilege that we've, like, I mean, I speak for myself. Like I have so much. I'm in proximity with all this other stuff. That's all, even though it's like a privilege that they never had, it's still awkward for me, but I'm still figuring it out. I still have these resources, and like they still, and then also I grew up in such a misogynistic home that like my dad, I'm like the only girl out of 3 brothers, all beautiful people, but like the treatment that I got, like my dad's old school, like it's hard for him to accept that like. And it's hard for me to believe if I'm even ever successful in being a creative as an artist. But I get it. It's poetry. I get the trauma behind that. But it's also for me to the yearning to be accepted is real, but it's generational trauma.
Yeah.
It's hard because they're like, if it wasn't for mi tío, que es hombre, que tiene 57 años, que va a mis shows, el único, one of the few, he's like, él se reporta a mi familia, hey, ¿sabes tu hija? Hey, ¿sabes que tu prima? ¿Sabes que está tocando aquí? He's the one who's like, but I'm like 42, I've been doing this since I was 24.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how does it feel for you knowing that at least you're having your uncle there?
Oh,
at your
amazing.
shows?
A veces no me la creo, because I'm already like, oh. But like it's awesome to have like representation from your bloodline.
Yeah. And
I understand why a lot of my bloodline are not there. Like the older generation, obviously. And then like, everyone's hustling a different way.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm first gen as well, so I completely understand.
So we're like, we have a different trauma. And like, yeah.
How did, if you don't, at least from my perspective, how did, since you're first gen, you're like one of the OGs, the like the
totally,
aunties.
yeah.
And so how did you figure your way, especially in this industry, or just, your path?
Putazos. Fucking, like hard, just still. I'm still, it's not that I've like figured it out. I'm still trying to figure it out.
And are you like, since you've been at it for a while, are you still like scared, or are you just like, you're just confident?
No, I don't think confident. I think there's certain parts of me that have like strong convictions that's like visceral, something that's always been part of me, but the insecurity is real.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever, really like, I think it's just a thing that is going to keep teaching me, that insecurity, like where to heal it, like where to get rid of old narratives, sabes? Because it's if you will, like when I talk about generational trauma, I mean it. I'm not just like saying it like flippantly. I mean it. I see it in my brothers every day. I see it in my family. I see it in my community. I see it in my family, like.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't really have that like, that confidence as a woman growing up in a misogynistic home. Like I'm still like learning how to be strong. I get stage fright, like I'm very intimidated when I go up on stage, even though I've been doing it for a long time, but it's also like my sensory issues as a neurodivergent person. Also, it's just a lot of this baggage of like that we're trying, I speak for myself, that I'm trying not to carry from my family. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But like I respect it. Like I'm not on TikTok, like filming my family because they're, because
like
I'm
me
van a dar una. But then I see other kids doing it. I'm like, wow, dude, like my generation, there's no way. There's no way. It's really healing though to see like the humor now that is that now all the parents now from like your generation that's like accepting the esta chingadera, like you know what I mean, kind of playing into it. But like when I was, no way.
And so how do you...
So that shapes you into feeling as an adult either secure or not secure, like how you navigate spaces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're like more like uptight, after like, and I don't consider myself an uptight person, but like I'm just, that trauma of the way you manage your parents and the elders, you're just like, all right, aquí no se dice eso, aquí no te pones esto, and that's like, like why live like that? Like my dad doesn't even know I'm queer. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, understandable, but like,
Like I don't tell you don't. I don't
No
say that.
communicate.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you.
If I say that, you know what I'm saying, right? We can talk about it later. But
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Where you just don't talk about it, and that's where like my lack of confidence in a way like resides.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I don't ever feel like super accepted fully in my 40s, and my dad's like old school, like, you know, that says a lot of how that plays out, and like my confidence out in the world playing music in front of people with other Mexican Americans or other Latinos, you know, who are also playing music, and they might be like, oh, her interpretation, like I don't care anymore. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they're not there paying my bills. They weren't there to like, you know, I know what's going on. I know my truth.
And well, at least, like, you know, I'm also an uncle. Like I got little nieces and stuff. So like, do you also try portraying this to them as your nieces and nephews? Like everything you're telling me, is that what you're also trying to?
But I'm very,
them,
but
or?
no soy encimosa, ¿sabes? You know, like it's just more learning, like it's just because everyone's having a different experience, you know.
Yeah.
So I am only just me, and I'm just my example. But there's also I haven't had a lot of mirrors in my family that are like me in my age group as a you know. So it's like there's only a few I can count in one hand that I know at a huge Mexican family that like are like, you know, in proximity to like, you know, talking about stuff in a different way, you know, even if it's annoying sometimes, but like we have access to like how we talk about identity politics, how we talk about, you know, taking care of the land, you know, like, you know, really doing that whole research that like, it's a privilege to even discuss those things and like let that stuff evolve. Other family members are they're hustling in a different way. They don't have the capacity for that, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why like for me to be like, yeah, you know, I'm just, nah. I'm living a whole different experience, but I'm just being myself, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it did. Hit me right here.
Yeah. My brothers and I are like, oh.
Wow. This interview was better than I expected.
Well, $20.
I appreciate this so much, though.
I'm just kidding.
And so, yeah, that was.